types of the compound stratified. It means the stratified epithelium by itself is classified into subgroups or subdivisions. And the location is very important to know at least 2 or 3 examples for each type of these epithelium. And the surface specialization for each type of the cells or in these epithelial tissue is very important to know. For example, we have cilia, microvilli, and sclerocilia, and their functions. And lastly, the location or where these surface specialization in the particular epithelium is found and the location for each type. By definition, stratified epithelium, it means any sheet of cells which contains more than 1 layer. 2 layers and more, it's called stratified epithelium. This is in general definition. And in case of stratified epithelium, only the basal layer are resting on the basement membrane. It means the second layer, third layer, and towards the outer side are not touching the basement membrane. While the name of the stratified epithelium is referred to the shape of the cells that is found on the superficial layer or the surface layer, without regarding the shape of the leaves. It means when we say stratified squamous epithelium, it doesn't mean that all layers are squamous in shape. Only the superficial layer or the cells which are located at the surface of the epithelium are of squamous or flat type. Otherwise, the basal layer may be columnar or cuboidal or polyhedral. Types of stratified epithelium. First of all, we have stratified squamous epithelium, which is by itself, it is divided into keratinized and non-keratinized. Then we have stratified cuboidal, stratified columnar, and lastly transitional epithelium. Stratified squamous epithelium. Here, it is the thickest type of the covering epithelium. It means it is formed from more than 15 or maybe 20, 25 layers of cells. So it is the thick type of covering epithelium and consisting of only the superficial layers are of the squamous shape, as I mentioned previously. The cells which are located at this is the image. Only, as you see, the superficial layer is flat shape or squamous shape, while the basal layers are really, as you see, it is columnar or a bit cuboidal and becoming polyhedral and rounded. This is the basement membrane. As I told that all the stratified epithelium, only the basal layers are touching or resting on the basement membrane. So in case of stratified squamous epithelium, the basal layer is columnarly shaped, as you see here, and above that, the cells are decreasing in height, becoming cuboidal or maybe polyhedral, and as we go towards the outside or superficial layer, it becomes flat or squamous cells. As I mentioned, the stratified squamous epithelium is of 2 types, keratinized and non-keratinized. The keratinized type is, it means that the most superficial layer is non-cellular or non-nucleated cell. It is made of dead layer. Here in this layer, the cells are losing their nuclei, and the cytoplasm is filled with a protein called keratin, which is a dead tissue. It is water resistant. And this keratin layer, this is the keratin layer, is regarded as a first line of defense mechanism in the body, because it prevents to a great degree the penetration of the skin by certain microorganisms, and Also, it can withstand harmful agents, for example, the detergents and some chemical substances. The best example is this case, or the best example for the keratinized stratified squamous is our skin, which also it is found as or it's classified into thin and thick skin. I will be giving you this lecture in maybe in the session 10 or 11. The non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, from its name, it means it has no the keratin layer that I talked about in the first time, and also the outer layer is here, as you see, it is as flattened cells, and no keratin is found. It is normal squamous cells. The most superficial cells are living and nuclei are found, not like the keratin layer. It is lining the mouth. The underlying words is very important, indicates to the location where this type of epithelium is found. For example, the oral cavity, our oral cavity is lined with this type of epithelium. Also, the oropharynx, the pharynx is divided into nasopharynx and oropharynx. The oropharynx is covered by non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Also, the esophagus, and in female, the vagina with the cornea in the eye. All these locations you will find the non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. The second type of the stratified epithelium is stratified cuboidal epithelium. It is usually formed from 2 layers of cuboidal cells, not more than 2 layers. Rarely you find 3 layers of cuboidal cells. The surface layer of which is composed of cuboidal cells, and this is the location that I have talked about. You must know at least 2 or more locations for each type of these epithelium. The stratified cuboidal epithelium, as you see here in this image, you see this is one cell, this is the nucleus of the cell, and this is so it is composed of really 2 layers of cuboidal cells. Found in the lining, or it lines the excretory duct, the large excretory duct of the pancreas, salivary glands, and sweaty gland. So mainly the glands, their excretory ducts are lined by stratified cuboidal epithelium. As you see here, this is the basement membrane on this line, and we have 3 layers of cuboidal cells. So the surface layer is cuboidal in shape, and that's why we call it stratified cuboidal epithelium. Stratified columnar epithelium, in fact, this type of epithelium has limited distribution in the human body, or a bit rare, only found in certain locations. It consists of several layers of cells, superficial layer of which is composed of columnar cells. As it is mentioned here, it is rare and present in ocular conjunctiva, in the eye. Ocular conjunctiva, between conjunctiva of the eyes, and ducts of parotid with submaxillary salivary glands. There are salivary glands, major salivary glands in the human body. The duct of the parotid, which is large salivary gland, and submaxillary salivary glands are lined with stratified columnar epithelium. Also, the lacrimal sac, a sac which stores the tears, is lined by the stratified columnar epithelium. Transitional epithelium, from its name it means this type of epithelium has no constant or standard shape. It differs, or its thickness decreasing and increasing according to the physiological state of the organ that lines. It's a type of stratified epithelium consisting of multiple layers, maybe 3 to 5 or 4 to 6 layers of cells. They have ability to contract and expand. How? By sliding, the layers start to slide upon each other and decreasing the thickness of the epithelium. It is specifically found in the urinary system. So it lines the renal pelvis, the urinary bladder, urethra, and superior part of the urethra with the prostatic and ejaculatory duct in the male of the prostate. The cell here in this type of the transitional epithelium, usually cuboidal or columnar, and the superficial layer is consisting of large dome-shaped binucleated cells. In some textbooks, they are called umbrella cells. However, here it's not mentioned. Umbrella cell, because it looks like the umbrella. It has dome shape. They are large, and often they are binucleated. So they are, the basal layer are cuboidal and columnar, with the superficial layer has vary in appearance according to the degree of distension. These cells appear to be cuboidal and with dome apex, and when the organ or the tube in which they reside is not stretched. When the organ, for example, the urinary bladder, is filled with urine, the wall of the urinary bladder stretches or expands in order to occupy this amount or this volume of the urine. This action is performed by the stretching of the muscular layer. But how about the epithelium? If it has or it lacks this ability to expand, so it ruptures. This feature is not found in other types of the epithelium. This is the image, the histological image of the transitional epithelium. It is composed of many layers, and the superficial cells are larger if you compare it with the size of the other layer cells, and often they are binucleated. This cell is containing 2 nuclei. This one also. And when the organ is stretched, as I mentioned, an example is the bladder filled with urine, the tissue compressed and the cell becomes stretched, and the cell becomes flat. And these cells, dome-shaped or large cells, become flat. And frequently binucleated, are visible in superficial layer or surface of the bladder. This image is showing in the high magnification. You see this large cell with 2 nuclei, dome shape, and the other cells are cuboidal or maybe in the basal layer are columnar. It is called transitional. It is resembled both stratified squamous and stratified cuboidal. تقريبا لها nucleature. And with the basal cells are cuboidal or columnar, and the surface cells are dome-shaped. This is a repetition of the previous slide, not important. Function is to stretch readily and permit the distension of urinary organs, especially the urinary bladder. This table summarizes the previous talk about all types of the stratified epithelium. بطاقة عنه بيخدموا جماعة مهمة هم بس على slide كاملة. Specialization of the epithelial cell surface. This is important. The apical end or apical surface of each cells in the stratified epithelium, or in general in epithelial cells, may have certain extensions, which is extending from the cell membrane. They are projecting from the surface layer, and their function is either to increase the apical surface area for absorption, especially in the organs which are concerned with the absorption of water or nutrient or any fluid that contains, or to move substance. Sometimes these specializations are found on the surface of the epithelium, and they are moving the sputum, or for example in the uterine tube, they are pushing the ova towards the uterine cavity and so on. Among these specializations, we have microvilli. Microvilli. It is specialized for absorption. So its main function is absorption. It's found in the apical surface, and it is cytoplasmic projection. They are called microvilli. In the areas which is concerned with the absorption, the best example is the small intestine, in which the digested food will be absorbed. So, in cells lining the small intestine, apical surface are covered with microvilli. Its function is to increase the surface area of absorption. They are visible as a brush or straight border. Yeah, the brush border or straight border. The average microvilli is about and usually they are visible with the electron microscope. They cannot be seen by the ordinary light microscope. So, this is an image taken by electron microscope. As you see, these are microvilli found on the apical surface of the cells. The second specialization is the stereocilia. Stereocilia are long cellular extensions, but it is less common than the microvilli found on the apical surface of the epithelium, restricted to the absorbed epithelial cell lining the epididymis. So, this is very important to know. Stereocilia is not found, for example, in the small intestine. It's found only in the epididymis. Here, its function is to absorb the fluid from the seminal fluid. And the proximal part of the ductus deferens. These two organs, structures, are referred to the male reproductive system. Like microvilli, stereocilia increase the cell surface area, facilitating absorption. Also, stereocilia-like structures found in the inner ear. And in addition to epididymis and ductus deferens, another more specialized stereocilia are found in the inner ear, sensory cells. Stereocilia are typically much longer and less motile than microvilli. They are longer and less motile, and may show distal branching along their length. And stereocilia, this is the apical surface of the cells, and these fine projections are the stereocilia. So they are longer than microvilli and less motile. And 3 locations in the human body contains these stereocilia. Epididymis, ductus deferens. Another name for ductus deferens is vas deferens. And ductus acapella vas or aynishka. Little inner ear sensory cells. Third specialization is cilia. They are motile. They can move in one direction. So they are found in certain locations or regions in the human body. They are concerned with the sweeping, pushing the structure or the, for example, thick secretion like sputum towards the outside. So they are found only in epithelium where they are abundant on the apical part of many cuboidal or columnar cells. They are longer and 2 times wider than atypical microvilli. So cilia are longer and wider than the microvilli. Epithelial cilia exhibit a rapid beating pattern of movement. So they are propelling and pushing the sputum, for example, in the trachea, in the upper respiratory tract. It has protecting and freezing function of the airways. However, here, Dr. Shir mentioned only the respiratory tract. Cilia also is found on cells that lines the uterine tube or fallopian tube in the female reproductive system. In this area or in this region, its function is to push the ova, whether it is fertilized or not fertilized, towards the uterine cavity. And this is the image showing these fine projections on the apical surface of the cells. This image is respiratory epithelium. This last slide contains two medical applications or clinical correlates to the epithelium. Not always the epithelial tissues are found or functioning normally. Sometimes there is genetically, in genetic diseases, there will be dysfunctioning epithelia or sometimes damaged by the certain environmental or drugs or external factors. In the first one, we have chronic bronchitis, which is the inflammation of the bronchi. Especially this found in the heavy smokers. The smoke will damage the cilia of the respiratory epithelium that lines the trachea and the bronchi. So, in such condition, it cannot function well and they cannot move and propelling the sputum or the thick secretion, cleaning the lumen of the bronchi and the trachea. So the ciliated stratified epithelium lining the bronchi of smokers can also be transferred into stratified squamous epithelium by a pathological conversion called metaplasia. يعني خوي لأصنع bronchi the pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. It undergoes changes, it becomes stratified squamous epithelium, like the epithelium that lines the oral cavity or the esophagus. So it cannot perform the normal function, which is the propelling of the sputum and the secretion, even the inhaled large particle towards the outside. In case of cartilaginous syndrome, which is a syndrome characterized by immotile cilia. In this person, the cilia are immotile, not functioning. They are found, but not functioning. So several mutations have been described in the protein of the cilia and flagella. They are responsible for the immotile cilia syndrome, whose symptoms are chronic respiratory infection. The person with this syndrome has a chronic respiratory infection because of dysfunctioning of these cilia. There will be accumulation of thick secretion in the bronchi and the cilia are immotile, cannot propel the accumulated sputum or the secretion. So they are more prone to the infection than the normal person. Another one in the cilia in the vas deferens and epididymis, the immotile cilia cause this infertility. Why in male? Because they cannot push the spermatozoa towards the ejaculatory duct to be ejaculated with the seminal fluid. So these are two medical application and clinical correlate, and thank you. Any question? Resto od modelu jest doktora Tamię, tu było zło. Ważne? I żadnego.